Good evening, everyone, and welcome. This is Pamela Marie Edmunds, and this is Love Never Dies radio show broadcasting from the Red Rocks of Sedona, Arizona. And yeah, our upcoming guest tonight was asking how warm it was out here. Yeah, we're 55 degrees. And no, we don't have a snowstorm like many of the East Coasters do have. But I wish you all well. I adore an East Coast storm, having been brought up in that area myself. So, anyway, but I am a medium. I obviously a radio show host. I've been doing this for 20 years now. I also do healing work. I'm an animal communicator and a pet detective. So I've got a few things under my belt to help and fit in with this particular work. I also working with spirit for a number of years. Um, and for those of you who want to keep up on this show, keep track of what is going on, I have a page on my website where I list all my upcoming guests, the dates, and of course, the information to get you into the Zoom room. That's on PamelaMarieEdmonds.com. Okay. The Zoom room meeting ID number, and passcode stay the same from week to week. And once in a while, I'll cancel the show if there's something serious going on. But most of the time, I'm going to be on here. And all of these shows, as I started telling a few people, are recorded and are saved on my YouTube page. So please acknowledge that there are other shows in there that you might like to listen to. Matter of fact, somebody that we just talked about, Guy Du Salt from it's a Facebook page, Signs from Our Loved Ones, which Clarianne Stevenson is also involved in. It's got, got thousands and thousands of members. Clarianne, how many members have you got on Signs now, dear?
She's muted.
Unmute, sweetheart, there.
Almost 200,000.
Wonderful, wonderful,
Wow.
wonderful. And basically it's a Facebook, there's two Facebook groups that people can go to. One is open and the other is closed. Closed being private, so people can share whatever they need to share without being judged or family members or friends saying anything that, anyway, getting in the way of their growth and their healing. Guy Du Salt has been on the show before. Matter of fact, Clarianne Stevenson has been on the show before, is an author of Mother's Tears.
Yes.
It's a book of poetry that she received from her dear son from the other side of the spirit, and several others. Plus, I've got some shows on there where I do what I call messages of love from heaven. I do that once a month, and there are recordings there. And this month's show will be next week. So if somebody is looking for a holiday message from a loved one, join us next week, same time. Okay. So anything else? And I do have an ongoing group on Monday nights going really quick. Let me just add, and then we'll get into our nitty gritty of the show here. I do a show called Let's Talk, not a show, excuse me, a group called Let's Talk Spiritually. And I mean, we talk about spirit, we talk about living a spiritual life, we talk about, the different challenges we have sometimes with people who are not walking a spiritual path, but also all the wonderful gifts. And I want to say some of the gifts of, being intuitive and being able to connect with spirit of being of great importance. So, okay. So tonight's show is titled Children Reach Out from Heaven. And it's with our guest, Joseph M. Higgins. I got that right. Okay. And I'm going to read his bio right off his website. Okay. Joe Higgins is an Amazon best-selling author, medium, spiritual teacher, and intuitive counselor. He's had the ability to communicate with those who have passed on since an early age. Joe has completed and taught classes in mediumship and advanced mediumship, as well as becoming a certified Reiki master. He has completed the Morris Pratt Institute training and a residential course in pastoral skills in Lilydale, New York. Sounds to me like he's working towards becoming a minister in the spiritualist church. No, just did the studies. Okay, all right, he's close enough though. Mr. Higgins' first book, Hello, Is Anyone Home? A guide to how our deceased loved ones try to contact us through the use of signs, has been well received for helping people understand the process of contact. Joe's second book, The Everything Guide to Evidence of the Afterlife, a scientific approach to proving the existence of life after death, published by Adams Media and is available worldwide. Joe's third book, Always Connected for Veterans, Deceased Vets Guide, receive guidance from the give guidance from the other side. Focus on questions vets and families ask about their involvement in war. Interesting topic. Now, this has Mr. Higgins' last book, but I'm going to actually say there is one more book beyond this one, okay? I got your message, Understanding Signs from Deceased Loved Ones. This book is part of his Always Connected series and is a follow-up to his first book, Hello, Anyone There? And he's also contributed to 2 other books, New Developments in Afterlife Communication and Developments in Afterlife Communication and Afterlife Communication, 16 proven methods, 85 proven accounts. And I'm going to add to his bio, his newest book, which is what our focus is tonight, Always Connected for Those Who Have Lost Children. And this is tonight's focus. Welcome, Joe. How are you?
Hi, Pamela. It's so nice to be on the show.
Awesome. And didn't we do a show about the vets one time?
Yeah, we did back a few years ago, and it's interesting because I was starting to write this book on the children.
Yep.
And then Spirit kind of pushed me forward to write the book on the veterans because there were so many suicides going on at that particular time. So it pushed the date of this book back a few years because they wanted the veterans book to be written first.
Are you a vet?
No,
Okay.
I'm not. And there was I was very, very nervous about writing that particular book. For about a week, I was like, I can't write this book because I'm not a veteran, and I just couldn't, accept that in my brain. But you know how it is, Pamela, in my heart, in my stomach, the decision was already made that it was going to be written. So I just had to trust in my guides and trust in Spirit that I would write it. And It's not about me, it's about helping the vets and their families.
Right.
And one of the first things, information that came through was that they had picked me to write the book because I wasn't a veteran. So I wouldn't have any preconceived notions about any of the subjects.
Okay.
So it was like a clean slate they could use.
Okay.
And that's the same thing with the children's book. I don't have children. So they wanted someone that doesn't have the connections that a parent would have or someone that has raised a child, because it might interact with the information that they wanted to come through. So I felt much easier writing this book after that was explained to me with the veterans book.
Okay.
So it made a lot of sense.
Awesome. This is all good information, but I want to backtrack a few years back. How did you get involved doing this work?
The work of mediumship?
Yes, sir.
Well, ever since I was a child, I mean, I was clairsentient, and I could actually tell the gender and age of spirits when I was probably 8 years old. And then I put it off for a while because you know how you start working in adulthood and things like that. And then I picked it back up in my 30s and I found like-minded people, which is absolutely incredible. And then it was just a craving for knowledge and how things
Right,
worked. And then
right,
one connection
right,
led to another connection, and
right.
then to the spiritualist church,
Yep.
and then I did my education with the Morris Pratt, and then I did the pastoral up at Lilydale, just to get as much possible information about. It's good to have a good basis foundation, so
Exactly.
that when you do this research, you can put it in context, and you're not just kind of flying by the seat of your
Right,
pants. You
right,
have some basic knowledge of some of the information that's been researched over 100 years.
right. Awesome, awesome. And one moment. Uh, all the guests, other than Joe and myself, please just push the mute button down the far left corner. That way, whatever sound, extra sounds are going on around you, doesn't come through the mic. Okay, I appreciate it all. All right. So Joe, how did you start getting involved with this book about the children?
I decided after my first book on the signs, and then towards the second follow-up signs book, that I wanted to focus in on areas where people had a lot of questions, and they were very difficult questions. Questions that you don't see the answers to anywhere else. No one was dealing with the hard questions, like the veterans. No one was dealing with the veterans, how they feel about killing in war. No one was dealing with the mothers and the parents of children that pass through like suicide or violent means, or things that they had. There's a need to know, and there's a need for healing, and no one else was doing it. So I decided this is what I'm going to do, because it's needed, and this is the direction I'm going to go in, because it's difficult, but it's needed. That's
Okay.
why I picked the hard subjects.
Okay. So so what did you do with spirit? I know I want to just this is a little background information, okay? That when we work with spirit, we ask them what we're needing, what we're seeking, right? We put out an
Yep.
intention. We want some help with something.
Right. So what I did was, I decided when I first started writing books and journals, I wasn't sure if I could do it, and then eventually Spirit said, of course you can, and we'll help you with it. And then every time I write a book, I have a group of people that work with me for each individual subject. So when it came, like, let's say the veterans books, I had a spokesperson for veterans on the other side that would answer a lot of the questions I had. And then I brought in individual veterans. So when I wrote this book, I did the same thing. I liked the setup. I wanted like a question and answer session. I wanted children's insights. I wanted to tap onto some of the signs,
Hi,
so the
you with me?
moms and dads
That's the
can learn about those.
candle
So
flame
it's really
flicker.
important that I
Make
have
it flicker
my guides
strongly if you're
working
with
on
me.
all three levels.
Okay.
So it's important for us to get the
Nin, if you're with
information
me.
directly from
Liv,
spirit about the bigger
there's still Dakin if
questions,
you're with me. Can you
and
make that
then
candle flame flicker?
to get the children to come in with their
Excellent.
personalities, which is great,
Is Dad with you,
and
Nin?
then talk about the signs, how the signs work, the everyday signs with
Okay,
people,
if my
but
dad,
also some of the
Albert
children
Francis
would come in with some of their
Dakin,
stories.
is with
There's
me,
already, I
just
think
a
there's
moment, can you
50
make that candle
sign
flame
stories
flicker?
in the book. So that brings a lot of comfort to parents reading
Flicker.
about other people's signs.
Nin,
And I think that's very
Edith,
important
Mother
to
still
add to the
Dakin
book.
if you're with
So
me.
the book
Can you make that candle flame
it's
flicker?
very robust. It covers a lot of different subjects, because there's a lot of different subjects to cover when it comes to young people or children passing. So I wanted to have it very comprehensive. It's 300 pages, but it was important to have the children's insights with their own words, um, to describe certain things too. So we got the spirit guides giving the information, children insight, personal experiences, and then we have the signs from the moms and the dads of how they've received it. So we got all three angles going on. And I
Okay.
thought that would be a good way to present it.
So then you did interview moms and dads who were still here.
I didn't interview the moms and dads, but I asked for their sign stories so that we could put it in the book about the experiences of how their children contacted them.
Okay.
So other readers would see that they use many different methods, and it's possible, and the stories are outrageously cool, and it just brings that healing to the book. It's a crying healing type of thing, but it's just so much fun because the energy of the children is very strong, and they have great personalities, and that comes through in a lot of their insights. So
Right.
that was important too, because otherwise it's just kind of like a question and answer on some of the big questions and stuff. But when the kids come through, they can answer it a little bit better. Like sometimes with the suicides or the addictions and overdoses, some of the children will come through and they'll be like, it was an accident. I didn't think it was going to happen. I was just I was just testing. I was just experimenting, and the next thing you know, I crossed over. And they give it from their perspective, which is cool. And then other ones would say like, no, listen, I became addicted because of let's say painkillers, because I like to work out, and things spiral out of control, and I tried to hide it. And so it's nice to hear it from their perspective, so parents can understand it if their children go through it, have gone through it, or will go through it in the future. So this book is also written for people that have not lost children yet, but will farther on down the line. So
Well,
it's
and parenthood lasts a long time, you know.
yeah, and people that are having children right now, it's for a multiple time, because it just has some wonderful window concepts they talk about. And the biggest one is, I really wanted to start off, is that we all have this individual, this conception of a child, and we use that linear time we have here on Earth, and that they're young and they shouldn't pass over early, and they have the whole life in front of them. And that's really a misconception, because the child, no matter if the child is a 1 year old, or if they're 30 or 45 or whatever, they're fully independent spiritual beings. They could be advanced souls, much more advanced than their parents. And because of the situation before they were born, they decided to work out the mechanisms of their life a particular way. But just because a kid passes and they're like 6 or 7 years old doesn't mean that they're not, incredibly talented, or have the wisdom of someone that's 90. And I think a lot of us have to realize that just because they're short and they're in fourth or fifth grade does not mean on a soul level that they're not Einsteins. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right, right. Now, um, okay. I'm glad you touched on 20, 30, 40-year olds too, because actually what I'm looking at is a handful of people that I know who are listening right now. And of course we're gonna have other people listening later on who who have lost, I'm gonna say, their kid, their baby,
Yep.
their son, their daughter as an adult.
Yep. Before them.
And it was totally shocking. And what you just talked about is, gee, my child is not supposed to pass before I do. I'm supposed
Right.
to be the one that goes first. That's kind of a
Right.
unspoken rule, but it doesn't always get followed, does it?
No, and it's not supposed to, and I think once we expand our understanding of life itself, we can understand that it doesn't work that way. We all come here for certain certain experiences, and sometimes when our experience, what we're here for, is done, we decide it's time that we can leave. Or sometimes, and I'll get into some exit plans and things like that in a little while. But another thing I wanted to mention, Pamela, originally this was always connected for parents who had lost children, and I switched it for those who have lost children, because a lot of times we see people that are not biological parents that
Yeah.
raise children. And a
Yes.
lot of time what I found too was that when a child passes and it's not a biological, or if like an aunt raised someone because the mother wasn't around or couldn't or something like that, there's a lot of silent grief they have, because they feel that they can't grieve openly because they weren't the biological parent, and people might treat them differently. So one of the things that comes through in the book is, if anyone came into contact with a child in their upbringing, that they're allowed to grieve in their own way, even if they're not a biological parent. I mean, we have to remember there are coaches, there are mentors, there are family members, there are neighbors that are all involved in raising children at different points, and they have intense grief when a child passes early also. So I wanted to make that in the book on the title, that it's not just parents, biological parents, but it's for those that have lost children. So anyone
Right.
that has been in a child's life that has the child passed before their time, supposedly, this book is good for them too.
Right.
We don't
right,
want to forget them or leave them out, because
Right.
they suffer in silence.
Awesome.
So
That,
something to
that's
remember for all of us.
That's extremely important. And I just want to add in here that the book that we're talking about again is,
Always connected for those who have lost children.
okay,
Children give signs and insights from heaven.
all right, okay. And it's Joseph Higgins, your website, dear?
Joseph Higgins. Yeah, my website is joehiggins.com.
Okay, and you've got how many books now? This is number 5 or 4?
This is the 5th book. Yep, a lot of them, most of them are on signs. I try to incorporate signs in all the books because I think it's a wonderful way to bring people into the books, because 90 million Americans have had some type of signs from their afterlife loved ones, and it's important that we share them with each other. It's a form of support that life does go on, that they continue to be with us, that they're still with us through the holidays, through birthdays, through milestones, and that we will see them again. So the
Right.
relationship continues even after they pass over. And that's especially important for the children. Because what happens is, if a child passes over before, let's say, in their teens or something like that, when a parent passes over, if they want to, they can relive that timeline from the time the child passed all the way through adulthood. So they can relive milestones that they might have missed on this earth plane. So there'll be weddings, there'll be children, there'll be grandchildren. If you want to, you can continue that on. So not only do you have a chance to see your child, but you have a chance to have shared memories of milestones throughout your life that you think that you missed now.
Okay.
So that's really important, and that came through from children too.
Well, and
One of the big
go ahead.
one of the big things is we have to look at the bigger picture on when children cross back over, and how we are all connected. And it's important to realize we do travel in soul groups, and sometimes we will have experiences outside of soul groups. We'll go into another soul group, and that's through free will. And sometimes when that happens, things get mixed up, and sometimes an early passing can happen out of a dynamic such as that. But we do start off with soul plans. People call them soul contracts. I don't like the word contracts. I'd rather use the soul plan, which is opportunities and experiences we'd like to experience when we come to the earth plane. And then they also create what's called life plans. And the life plans is basically how it's going to play out to have these experiences. And then we have free will. And free will can change the life plans a little bit. I have an example in the book, a story about a young man that was going to be born in England. And then in his 20s, he was going to save someone from drowning. And that was his experience he wanted to experience. And the life plan was he'd grow up in England, join the Navy or something, and then help someone save them from drowning. Well, the young man's born in England, and in his mid-teens, early 20s, he decides he doesn't want to join the Navy. He wants to move to California and become a surfer. So he does that, but he still has the opportunity to save someone from drowning. So through free will, he just changed his life plan. Didn't change the soul plan, just changed the way it played out. And that's how the free will works. It gives us the opportunity to kind of shift, but we're still going to be on the same path. So so people think like, oh, am I locked into this? Am I locked? No, free will is very freeing, and it can lead to different situations, and they can work out the dynamics of certain things happening, even if we change certain free wills.
Right.
But a lot of times when children pass, it's either they had planned to pass because they only came here for a short time for certain teaching lessons to teach us, or for them to experience certain things. Sometimes they'll take an early exit, like an exit plan. Now, an early exit, we all have opportunities in our life that if we have reached certain goals, that if we decide on the soul level that I'd like to return to the source, I'm able to do that. And I was taught that by an 11-year-old girl who actually showed me how the exit plans work. And it was actually, when I explained it to her mother, the mother backed it up. So that was the type of research that really, it was verified, because the girl showed me a highway with an extension going, an exit one way, a little farther up, another exit, and then a little bit farther up was the end of the road. And so she said, if I hadn't taken this exit, I would have taken the next one, and my parents would have had to suffer because I would have been in a lot of pain. It would have been a long, drawn-out illness, and I decided this was the best way. The young girl passed quickly in an accident, and when I explained this to the mother said it made a lot of sense, because she's 11 years old, but she had a rare blood disease, and she wouldn't have made it to her 20s. So that's why I saw the end of the highway was very short. And as she advanced in her teens, she would have been bedridden, and it would have been a long, drawn-out process. So it was nice getting the information, the insight from the child, and then verified by the parents, so that we can understand it better, and there's some validation there. So that's what I like to do a lot in the book, is to take the insights and then and back it up with some other things from other sources, and that way we can stay on a steady road of trying to get the real answers out there. But we're never going to get all the answers, and you know that, Pamela. You know, we get little bits and pieces, and what we're trying to do is I'm trying to put a little pieces of the puzzle together to get a glimpse. And sometimes they give it to us, sometimes they don't, but I'm going to work at it to get that glimpse for everyone.
And that's why we call them guides, or they call themselves guides, is they're meant to help guide us in certain directions. They cannot live our lives, but they can guide us in different directions for us to learn different experiences. Yes.
If we listen to them too, and that's a big thing.
Yes. That's
Yes.
big. That's another big piece. And something I
Yeah.
want to touch upon here that's been coming to mind, and I want to say it's going to be tied into all the books you've done, but all the work, that we both do as mediums, finding the dear loved ones who are left behind are given an opportunity to spiritually grow after their loved one has passed.
Absolutely. And some of that, that's one of the benefits of the children. Sometimes when they do an exit plan or they leave early, it increases the opportunity, the teaching opportunities for the rest of us that are left behind. And they take that's an advanced soul. A lot of these children are advanced souls when they cross back over early, because they're taking on huge responsibilities for teaching us certain things about compassion and loving ourselves, taking care of other people, how to deal with, children, siblings that have passed, as opposed to parents. How do you deal with your neighbors? All that interaction is all ongoing. There are all lessons in there to be learned. But, if we do it through love and understanding, that's a great roadmap right there.
Right.
And but talking to siblings and kids take on the grief differently than parents would. They're a little bit more flexible, because things are constantly changing in their lives very quickly. And so change is harder for us at our age. than it is for someone younger. But I talk about that in the book. I have a chapter on dealing with siblings and multiple children in a family, which I
Right.
thought is important because it's all part of the process. You know,
Right.
it's part of the process. And the last thing you want to do is isolate anyone and have them go through their grief by themselves. And that's why great organizations like your this radio program, and I know Claire's got a wonderful web organization sharing signs, and I've dealt with mothers with helping parents heal. That is very important to share the grief with each other because it increases the healing ability for everyone involved, and it's all built with love, and that's all part of the picture, and it's all encompassing with our life cycle.
Right, right. And something that's coming to mind here, and I think you probably noticed this, how some people, their grief is deeper than others, and that's we all have we all grieve differently. We all have a depth of grief at a different level, but often, and I discovered this personally, if we have a real deep soul connection to someone, that grief is going to be really deeper.
Right. And I think it's important for people to realize that even more so on that level, that they really are still here with us. And a thing I found fascinating was the relationship between a child and their parents continues after death. And the responsibilities there too. So the kids are like, Mom, I want to see you happy. Go out in nature, listen to music. I can come through easier with signs if you're not grief stricken all the time. They understand the human process of grief, and that's a natural part of the human experience. But they also have the connection is still there. And so, especially like around the holidays, it's like say their name because they're there. They want to enjoy it. And the kids come through and they're like, sometimes it's such a drag with my parents around my birthday. They're all like moping around. It's like go out to the beach so I can come with you, and the energy of the kids that come through and tell me that, so I put that in the book because it's true. It's true. And the kids go on vacation with you, um, and they enjoy the higher energy. It just that loving connection and that excitement to them is fantastic.
Right.
So I can hear a couple of them saying right now, we love a parade. They're playing the instruments. We always love a parade. So
Okay, okay, okay. And Joe, I want to say you touched on something that I just want to share real quick. Is one of the reasons I scheduled you this month was because of the holiday time and knowing that loss, and especially loss of a child, no matter how old they are, is a big, big, big deal. Very challenging, and it goes on for a long time. So,
yes,
wonderful.
yeah, and I wanted to bring that through on the healing section. Ask the children and the guides what we can do, and that's what they had showed me. Like include me in it. We're going to be there anyway. We don't want to be sitting in the corner like bummed out because you guys are bummed out. They're going to be like, we're going to go to a different party then. That's exactly what they say. It's like, let's have fun. I want to cook with you. When you're cooking, say, think about me because I'm going to be right there making Christmas cookies with you like I used to. And, I'll be arguing with your mom and, about the recipe and things like that, but I'm still there. So continue to do it and understand that I'm experiencing this with you, even though I'm not physically there. So I think
Exactly.
it's important to realize that. Um, and they like the jokes. They like shared memories. If you have some funny memories of the kids, tell those jokes, tell those experiences. They get a kick out of it. You'll get a kick out of it. You'll cry, but you'll laugh too, and that's all part of it.
Right. And
You
set
know.
up a memorial for them, set them a table, a place at the table, um, where
Right,
they can sit, and sure enough they will. They will.
right, right. And they play with the animals. They play with the pets. They'll play with their siblings. They'll mess around with them. I have one boy, Kevin, that comes through, and he's prevalent in the book. He passed from suicide. Um, he goes after his older brother. I mean, it was that brother rivalry they always have in a good way, good loving way. And so he still interacts with him. And so the mother's going to do a special display at his gravesite for Christmas. She's going to set something up. And so Kevin was very excited about that. And he's like, "Don't embarrass me, Mom." And she goes, "Oh, since you said that, I will definitely try to embarrass you." And so it's still shared there. He said, "Go ahead, do it. I will get you back." So it's kind of like a challenge. It was kind of a challenge back and forth. So and they will. If you want to play a game with them, they'll play a game with you.
Well, and this is a gift of the evidence, them proving who they are. So we remember these different experiences with them, the way they used to behave, the way we used to react to them, and what went on beyond that. It's huge. It is huge.
It's the interaction, right? Exactly. It continues, and it shows that relationship still continues, which is wonderful. Once people realize that, it can really it can give them some peace, and that's what's the main thing about these books, is to bring some peace and healing to some of these people that have gone through these great losses. And that's why I love the science stories, because some of them are hysterical, what the kids will do. And it's just wonderful to read them. And Claire knows that by reading them, it gives you a nice warm feeling in your heart on how some of these kids go about putting these things together. And when friends get together, they can make the science really complex. That is really very interesting, and it just makes you smile. To me, I love writing this because I get it firsthand, and I get the residual love that comes through, and the personality of the kids, and how they just love being like a kid. Even the older kids in their 30s or 40s, they know how to bust people up a little bit. And so it's really good. There's a bigger picture in life. We've always heard that. It's not a cliche. Well, it is a cliche, but there really is a bigger picture, and we're all interacting together, and nothing is final, definitely not final.
Right.
And so there's interaction between their side and our side. So it's important for the parents and people that have been around children to realize that.
Yeah. Now, Joe, what other aspect of your book is important to share here tonight?
I think a big thing is guilt. I wrote a chapter on guilt because a lot of times parents have guilt about the situation if they couldn't protect their child in certain circumstances for them crossing over. And the important thing to realize is, which I never did until I was writing this book, is because these children are individual spiritual entities, like we are, just that we're older on the earth plane than them, doesn't mean, like we had said before, that they're not more wise. They decide. The child decides depending on what situation, if it's pre-planned, if it's an exit plan. There's one, I just want to read this because it's a great thing about
Can you show
how
the
they
book, please?
choose.
Can you share the cover of your book, please, while you're sitting there?
First, we'll do it here. It's got the big blue butterfly.
Ah,
And but they can change. I mean, there's various reasons for people, for kids to cross over, and it's really important that people understand. I mean, like I was saying, it can be preconceived that they decide to pass, let's say, in a car accident with a couple of their friends. It can be through free will because they decided to perhaps want to experience things outside their soul group, and they decide, I'm going to take on this particular role because my friend is going to pass this way. So there are many different reasons for their passing. But anyway, so the main thing is they decide they're deciding when they pass. Parents have no control over the situation.
yes.
Even if a parent is driving in a car and they caused the accident, they have guilt that they had caused the death of their child. They did not. that was built into a complex series of events that was to play out. I had a woman that said that her child was killed in a car accident by a coach that was driving the kids to a hockey game, and he had been drinking. Two of the children passed. What turns out was it was an early exit for both the children, and they made that deal together. And what would have happened, I told her, was if they hadn't died on that particular day, a couple of days later, or soon after, they would have passed, and it could have been through a drowning. And she said to me, well, that's very interesting, because after the hockey game, the man was supposed to bring them kayaking. So I don't know if Spirit had put that in my mind or something, but that's usually how it works. If an exit plan is going to play out, if it doesn't happen on a Sunday, it could happen on a Tuesday a month later. So I wanted people to understand that your actions did not contribute to the passing of your child, and that is huge. It's really huge. Not everyone's going to understand it. Not everyone is going to be able to even comprehend it at any level. But I had to put that in there because some people will, or some people will think about it, and it's important that it's in there. So if someone is ready and can accept something like that, it can be a huge healing step, because we need to remove that guilt from ourselves, and we need to learn about self-love in situations like this. It's huge. It's a big opportunity for self-love, is healing from grief. And that's why I put that chapter in there.
Awesome.
It's very serious, and it's a lot of it's done in quiet, alone, and it's being the judge, jury, and executioner, and it's constantly like a wheel that people are constantly torturing themselves with, and it just plays over and over and over in their brain. Once you start thinking from your brain, it disconnects you from your spirit connection to the other side.
Yeah.
And that takes away some of the tools we have to deal with our grief. And then once the brain, and that happens a lot of times with suicide, the brain takes over trying to figure out, like the Rubik's Cube, and it plays things over and over and over. And we lose the tools that we came here naturally with, like laughter, like compassion, interacting, helping others. These tools that really make us connected and see the bigger picture. And that's important with the grief, that they see the bigger picture, they do the self-love, and start opening up to other avenues of healing, especially opening your heart to other parents that are trying to help you. Okay?
Yes.
Because in these organizations, you have parents that have lost children at all different levels. Someone might have lost one a year ago, someone might have lost one 10, someone might have lost it 25 years ago. So they're at different levels, and they can share the information they use to help those people with their life. And that's why the work that all you guys do, Pamela, Claire, and other people do, it's like a wave of love, you guys, a wave of loving healing
Yep.
that you send out with your work. It's the ripple effect. You guys are part of that ripple effect. And by adding that to the book, I think it was important so individuals can look at it. If they see it in a book and it's written, maybe some of it will start to filter through and say, hey, listen, maybe I should let my neighbor help me sometimes. Maybe I should let someone from church drive me to maybe one of the food nights and stuff like that, to give them an opportunity to learn about giving compassion. So if a little bit slips in here and there, and through what you guys do, then we can set that ripple effect out there to help, especially like in the topic of guilt.
Well, and something that I just want to touch upon, and several of the people I know who are listening now and will be listening have really got involved in the spiritual side of life since their child has passed. And that has been one of the results of that passing, almost as if that child, whether he was 20 or 30, had a purpose to leave, to help mom or to help dad, to be there to help other people.
Right. And there's a huge ripple effect there, because a lot of times people leave, and because of their leaving or the manner in which they left, it can create opportunities that are supposed to be there, or through free will can be there, for these other people to increase the compassion around them. People can become medical personnel, they become EMTs, they become therapists for people. So the passing of one child can have a ripple effect and affect thousands of people over generations of going into certain areas of health and healing. That's just, the love around it is incredible. So when we looked at one individual action as a passing, a lot of times we look at it and we focus on it when every anniversary, like, oh, that's terrible. What we don't look at is the love that can come out of that to people we don't even know, and generate farther down the line, that healing love, it can actually be like an exploding star, and that loving energy can move on. So we have to start looking at it from that perspective.
Well, and a title of a movie that's very popular right now at this time of the year, "It's a Wonderful Life," really gives you a really kind of a visual of what happens if one person no longer lives, and how it's affected everybody, and in a little different way than we're talking, but still, it's like we don't realize how we're perceived by other people. We don't realize how our smile or a quick hello really touches somebody who's really in pain and hurting and really needed
Right.
that connection. The list goes
Yes.
on and on.
And it's important for a lot of people to give that to themselves. We've talked about love, self-love before, and that's huge.
Right.
That's huge. A lot of,
Right.
in our culture. So it's important to be able to do that so that you can possibly at some time help someone else. And we all know helping someone else is healing. Okay. It's one of the natural things we have on this planet that we can use for healing, such as music, creativity, pets, walking in nature. These are all, and you can do all those things without leaving your house.
Yep.
It's
Right.
you
Right.
walk with nature. You can have plants in your house and you can connect to nature. So there's lots of different ways in being connected to others and helping them and reach out is a wonderful healing. It just makes you create a loving healing bond to that situation that goes to the other side, and the child feels that. Okay, so that's what I mean about the relationship continues. The child does not want to see mom and dad, suffering all the time, or turning into bad habits with drugs or alcohol and stuff like that. They want to see them continue. They realize they're still going to have bumps in the road. There's still going to be that missing physical being, but they realize that there are other opportunities that will come up, and they don't want their parents to miss it. Because if their head's down and they're focused on their internal self guilt and things like that, they might miss some of those opportunities that come by them, that the kids are like, no, look up now, because they can see how it's going to play out down the road, where otherwise you and I are looking and we're like, I don't see anything. How can things ever be better in 4 or 5, 10 years? But by accepting it and just going with faith, and the expression "let go and let God," and having belief, or at least open to belief, and willing to take that step, huge growth.
Wow. Awesome. Joe, we got, see, if we go to the hour or a couple minutes after the hour, we got about 10, 15 minutes here. Okay. I'm feeling that we need to at least touch on suicide. It's not an easy, it is a very difficult way to lose a loved one. And
Absolutely.
then I'd like to see if we can get some questions from some of our people who were present for you. Okay.
Yep. All right. I have a thing I wanted to read. I'm just going to read a few lines from the suicide chapter. Suicide is a complex event focusing on one individual but having repercussions beyond the individual's perspective. A suicide may occur when opportunities for growth become overbearing to the extent that the soul is not able to incorporate all the situations as they play out. The intentions when coming to the earth plane were all well and good, but in playing out of the life lessons, the soul is overwhelmed by the challenge they took on. At certain times, the human body will experience illnesses in various forms. Some of these are pre-programmed into life, and sometimes when that happens, depressions and other forms of mental illness can come into effect, and then you have a chemical imbalance, which is one of the reasons why. Not knowing how to deal with this overwhelming challenge, the human individual takes over the entire process of decision making. The insights that the soul has will become blocked, and the tools the soul has brought to the earth plane are not able to be used. At times, the tools themselves have not been integrated into the soul fully before being born. Now, Kevin, that had passed by suicide, had told me and it was in a reading, to tell his mother, said, "Mom, I couldn't handle the situations that were going on." He says, "I didn't have the tools to do it. I left my toolbox in the truck," meaning he left his tools on the other side. He didn't have all the tools he needed to deal with this incarnation. So he said, "Mom, I didn't know how to deal with it." But I love the expression when he said, "Mom, I left my toolbox in the truck." It was just a wonderful way for a young man, a 21-year-old man, to just, get the example across.
Okay.
So it's just it's important. These lessons with suicide, you can learn about self-love, compassion for others, how to bring awareness of the problem when individuals feel lost and unconnected. So it's really important that the kids that come through and talk about the suicide, they want people, it goes into the guilt and and the self-love, but a lot of times they didn't have control over the situation. And what happens is the brain takes over, and either through mental depression or chemical imbalance overrides the system, or they took on too much in this life that they could handle, and then they started shutting down their connection, their internal connection, because they became hyper focused on a lot of things that they were dealing with. And once you do that, you're not going to be able to have balance. You won't have that balance in life. So and then some of the suicides, by accident. Some of them, there's various reasons. So I talk about the suicides and I talk about parents dealing with them. So it's a heavy subject, but I want people to realize that a lot of the kids just didn't have the mechanisms to deal with the situations that were going on, and that's separate from the chemical imbalance, which can override the human organism, and that in itself can create a wanting to take an exit.
Right.
They're not pre-planned. Suicides are not pre-planned. They can be worked into an early exit, but they're not pre-planned.
Really? They're not pre-planned. Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
I just interesting. I lost a sibling. She was 18 years old, and to suicide, and she just could not see any way to deaden her pain, her emotional pain.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
And so I do feel like a lot of it was pre-planned. Plus, she kind of taught me a lesson of, gee, Pamela, we were brought up in the same household and have had similar issues. Take care of them so you don't go this direction too. That's kind of my
It might have been Pamela, it might have been a free will life plan, but not in a contract. So if someone comes into this and they're dealing in a soul group, and all of a sudden they get involved in, let's say, drugs or alcohol, or
that was there.
Driving too fast, or some type of behavior that they willingly put themselves in, that caused their passing,
Right.
then that passing is considered a free will extension of the crossing.
Right.
So
Right.
in that
Right.
circumstances, but I asked them twice because I wanted them to know that's not in the contract or the sole plan.
Okay, okay. Thank you, thank you. I felt that it was an important topic to include into this interview. So,
We have free will.
say again?
We do, but we have that free will.
Great, great, great. Okay. Can we get a few people somebody who may like to ask Joe a question here? Put your hand up if you're visual here, and, okay, Lori, please unmute yourself.
Oh, I have no idea what to ask, but I just thought, oh, let me be first.
Excuse me.
I was going to say, because Walter's usually pushy and chomping at the bit to tell me something. And of course, when I rang the bell today, I was very emotional because I thought of Walter's video of when he rang the bell at Mass General after his treatment.
Okay, okay. Yes, you're going through some radiation treatments. Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome, awesome.
but I'm all done. Yay.
Yep, yep. And he knew you were going to get through this.
Yes, because he told me to basically, he said, Ma, it's going to be okay. Ma, it's all right. So with that tone of voice, I knew just go with the flow. Don't fight it. Because he knows I'm not a patient person.
That's how the kids talk, especially when they come through, on the other side, they come with that tone of voice.
Yes.
And some of them have, they have the personality and a little bit of attitude and a little bit of they could be a little condescending, but in a funny way. And it's nice that they still have that, the quirkiness about them.
Well, he gets that from his mother.
That's it.
Because when I hear Ma, I know to pay attention.
Awesome.
That's that right.
Well, thanks, Lori. Okay. Who else would like to say something here to Joe? Claire Ann, would you like to talk? I've watched you a little bit. I know this has been touching you on an emotional level. I'm not surprised. And what would you like to say to Joe here?
Oh, I just wanted to say that I thoroughly enjoyed everything that he said, and such important messages. And I think that the greatest comfort for anybody who's grieving a loss is understanding that your relationship really doesn't ever end.
Absolutely.
That's what I couldn't
Absolutely.
stand at first, because Graham was gone in a minute. And, you're just, it's like frozen. But when you gradually learn that he's still there, it helps.
Yeah, and there's still that. Yeah, there's still that responsibility. The kids come through and like, hey, listen, they tell their mother, Mom, just because I'm gone doesn't mean I'm not still your daughter. And they'll come through with that type of attitude, and it's like, so I want to be there at Christmas, so make the cookies because I like the cookies. So you know what I mean, and they come through with that type of attitude.
And
it's
the miraculous thing for me was that 18 months after he passed, I started writing poetry. And the first poem I wrote, I didn't even know I was writing a poem. And in the next year and a half, I wrote over 200 poems. And I know it was Graham, just, my tears would flow. And it was just, and who knew that one day that would turn into a book and that would hopefully help others too. And it's amazing.
It's because you allowed yourself to open up and the spirit worked with you to create something that you had no idea how it would turn out, and then that, like we're saying that before, at that particular time, you're like, no way, nothing's gonna, but then time goes on and you realize that something has come out of his passing and still will, because people are still reading those wonderful poems and it's still helping a lot of people. And so I'm getting a chill because I can feel it's like a continuing loving, healing message that he sends through you to send to other people. Wonderful. And I think that's it's so wonderful what you do and the people you work with and helping other people. And I absolutely love your fireplace and your Christmas tree and the, oh my God, it's so beautiful in your house. Look at that.
It's so much of it is for Graham. You know, I feel like I have
Good.
even more of a need to create beauty. You know, just love
Oh,
and
he loves it. Yeah, that's all part of it. That's a perfect example, Pamela, on how to keep the relationship going is to do the things that the children would have enjoyed and they know that the parents enjoyed. So that's really important. Absolutely. Thank you so
Right.
much, Claire.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. That was a very important message for people to hear and understand.
I knew you'd have something to say in regards to what he was talking about, Clarion. Clarion and I met back, oh gosh, we've known each other, what, at least 10 years? Yep. All right. This is Graham. Yep.
Can you see him?
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Handsome boy.
Rock, he's a rock star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Handsome boy. Okay.
He's the best.
Yeah. Thank you, Clarion.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else that would like to ask or ask Joe something or share something with Joe? Or the rest of us? No? Got several other people here. That's okay. Any other topics that you would like to feel like is important to add to our interview here, our discussion, Joe? Oh, wait a minute. We got a hand. She's in the middle of my screen here wearing a blue top and glasses, got her hand up. She's unmuted right now. What's your name, miss? Okay, your audio is not working. I cannot hear you.
Is she muted?
I'm not seeing her muted, but there's another way that she can send a message is if she wants to do something in chat. And it looks like there's a couple messages in chat. There is a chat. It's on the bottom of the screen. She wants to just ask a quick question, or you would need to check out what's going on with the computer. Everybody has challenges at times. Once you get the hang of doing the Zoom, it's a wonderful gift. So, did you want to ask him a question, or did you want to just talk? Maybe for some reason Spirit doesn't want you talking today. I don't know. You never know. You never know.
But anyways, you know, it's got a lot of different topics in the book. You know, it deals with relationships, individuals, the hows and the whys at the beginning, and then it gets more into the interpersonal relationships.
Right.
And then the science stories are dribbled all throughout the book too. So it brings you a little bit of a little up, you know, some funny stories after every chapter.
Okay. All right. There was a message here from the lady in the blue that she did type up a little bit of a message. I don't know if you find the chat, Joe?
My daughter might not want me to share. Is her daughter on the other side? Definitely share. Definitely share.
How did your daughter pass, miss? How did your daughter pass?
She's typing something.
Okay. If you're open to share that. Ah, that's why we had to talk about suicide. I was getting the nudge that we had to include it in the interview. I was hesitant because it's a difficult topic, but that's part of why. Okay. Thank you for saying that. How long's she been gone? How long has she been gone from this earth plane?
Oh, she comes in dreams. She overdosed on Benadryl. Yeah, she comes in dreams, which is great. And it was interesting you said your daughter might not want to share, because I'm feeling her saying, like, crossing her arms saying, okay, Mom, great. There you go. You had to bring me up, which was great. I'm glad you did, but she's kind of kidding you. So I'm glad you did, because she knows that she's connected with you, and that you're still connected with her. And that's the easiest way, is to go through dreams.
Wonderful. I'm glad for this chat here. Every once in a while, somebody's not able to speak. Okay, did you see the rest of the message, Joe?
Yeah, she came in a dream a month and a half after she passed, and today they didn't let her come back. Right, because she had completed what she needed to complete.
Okay. She overdosed with Benadryl. That's wow. Anything in the cabinet they can use.
She said that she was so cold. Well, that was probably before she passed, but obviously on the other side, they have it. They're surrounded by loved ones and loving spirits, and they're they're not in pain or suffering anymore. Definitely not.
Wonderful. Awesome.
So she's in a good place, a loving place.
And what's Mom's
And
first?
she's going to visit.
Yeah, I was
She's
going to
going to
ask.
visit the mom a lot more in the dreams too.
Good. And what's your name, Mom? What's Mom's name?
She says, I think she was cold because she was in the morgue for 10 days. Larissa.
She
said, Mom, I wasn't there. She goes, that's just my body. Yes. And you people have to stop thinking of the body as who we are. And then she showed me an example of, like, if I'm the same body at 10 years old, what happens when I'm 90? Does that mean I'm a different person? No, it just means I aged, which is, a great example, and it's true. Who we are in our bodies. I mean, my body's not the same way since Thanksgiving. I put on about 15 pounds, but it's true. Our bodies change, but not who we are.
Right. And
so she's much more freer, and she wasn't. And she says kind of slyly, like, I never liked the cold anyway. So.
Wow, awesome.
She said she's fine, and she will visit you more with the signs in the dreams. She sends me heart shapes almost every day. Yep. So it's very active. So, keep her in your plans as you move forward, but definitely, do self-love, obviously. And she's saying that we're a team. We're a team. So she's going to be walking with you hand in hand throughout the rest of your life.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe.
She said she's going to have to hold your hand, because some of the things, she doesn't want you to get in trouble, she said. So it's kind of like the child takes over as the parent. So she's going to hold your hands, because she says she's not going to let you out of your sight, because she doesn't want you to get yourself in trouble. So she says, I'm watching you. And she's doing this thing. I'm watching you, like that movie.
And that's an important.
She says, so behave. So she said, behave. She laughed. She goes, I'm watching you, so behave.
And that's an important statement, Joe, because they're all right there watching us when we least expect it. It is totally huge.
And they're helping us too, if we allow them to help us.
Yes.
Yep. And they will walk with us. It's amazing. They'll walk with us for our entire life. They'll be there.
Yes. Well,
she did say, wait a minute, she did say, I won't be walking with you entirely, she goes, because I do have a life over here. And then she laughed.
Yeah. And
but she says, I can still keep an eye on. She says, I can still keep an eye on you and still do my own thing.
And that's important to know too, that they are learning and growing over there. Some of them step into roles of being guides with us. Others go on to learn more about things. And for them to communicate, they need to do some studying themselves, right?
There's a section in here that a couple of children told me that some of them are learning music. They learn how to play instruments. And what I thought was fascinating, some of them learn trades. She said, when you see people on the earth playing that have a natural ability to build things or with motors or play the cello or something like that, she goes, where do you think they learned that? They were learning that on the other side before they came here, and they were mastering it over there. So you might have people, some people are just naturally good at certain things. It just doesn't come out of nowhere. They were learning it on the other side before they came. So when we go back, we'll have that opportunity to practice whatever we like. Like, some people just love to do puzzles, or some people like to build things. Some people are great carpenters or architects. Others are great sports people with great abilities there. In other words, like I said, music or creativity. So they do that. They're learning that. So and when they come back here, they can they'll continue that they brought with them. That's another connection they have to the other side. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, on the other side, Pamela and Claire too, that at some point that we had like counseling on the other side, so that when we came here, we're able to counsel people either through the books or through our conversations.
Yes.
And we accelerated at that, and maybe we didn't realize it, but now it could make a lot of sense.
And many of us who are doing work such as mediums, teachers, and healers have done it before in other lifetimes or in between lives, like you're saying.
I really think I've been thinking about this lately, that I think a lot of us that do this type of work are kind of like spiritual usurper guides. We're here to do our own things, learnings, but we're also here to help other people on their path.
Yep.
So sometimes we help them up the mountain,
Right.
but we still gotta climb the mountain ourselves,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
it's kind of
Yep.
so we have to do our share. We have to spread the information, spread the research, spread the love, and it's all about compassion and healing for everyone to
Exactly.
do what we can.
Exactly. And I want to thank Larissa for sharing. That was very important. And thanks for validating why we needed to mention suicide. I thought it was maybe somebody else listening, but didn't realize that you were present and you had that experience too. It is a very difficult experience to get through. It's something I myself have worked on for years with my sibling, and I'm sure it's even more intense for a mother-daughter relationship. So anyway, but Joe, I think it's time to wind down. We've had some great information shared. First off, a reminder. What are the titles of your books? Can you list them off, please, so people know?
My books are, the first one is Always Connected, for those who have lost children.
Yep.
I Got Your Message, and that's about signs.
Yep.
That's actually about Hello Anyone Home. My first book is the process on how the signs take place. I Got Your Message talks about signs, but it also talks about group signs, and it talks about how these signs came about, like coins and things like that, how they used them thousands of years ago, and then they stopped using them for a period of time because people thought they had magical properties. So the spirit stopped using them, and then they picked it up again afterwards, after that myth, because they didn't want the signs to take on a different mannerism or a different explanation than what they were meant for. So I talk about that in the I Got Your Message book. So it's a little bit of everything. You can get them on Amazon, you can get them under Joe Higgins, or you can go to joehiggins.com, and
Yes.
You can get it from there.
Wonderful.
So people have some options.
Wonderful.
And if anyone has any questions, they can always email me.
Right. Wonderful. And you still in Fall River, dear?
Yes.
Yes, Fall River, Massachusetts.
Until I get out to Sedona.
Yeah, yep. Yep. You say you've been here before, but for anybody who is really is on a spiritual path, Sedona is really a place that you need to visit, not for just a day, a little bit longer, a week, 2 weeks, spend some time here. It is extremely healing. It is, yes, it is getting a little commercial, unfortunately, in some ways, but it's kind of like you got to look beyond that commercial piece and see the beauty that's here. See what, can I say, see what God's created for us and the energetic repercussions of that. So, Joe, I send you a big hug from here, from Sedona here to Fall River. And Joe and I have met a number of times. We've been around a number of the same circles and the same different people. And is there another book coming up?
Yeah, there are, but I'm not sure where Spirit wants me to go yet.
Okay.
It's important. I think it's important. I need to get this more information out to people that have lost children, because a lot of times they do suffer in silence. And so I'll be promoting this for the next 6 months or so. But, I could wake up in the middle of the night and Spirit could say, oh, you're going to do it on this next time.
Well,
So
right.
we'll see.
Right. And Cleary, and do you have a couple groups that are specifically parents who have lost children that you're connected to?
Well,
That might be good for the groups for him.
Helping Parents Heal is one. And of course, Compassionate Friends and Bereaved Parents of the USA are all specifically for bereaved parents.
Okay, there's a few things for you, Joe, and it's in the recordings. If you didn't know that, you might know some of them already, but
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I did a talk with Elizabeth from Helping Parents Heal a few weeks ago. She's wonderful organization.
Good. Yeah.
Awesome.
There
Awesome.
are several really good ones out there.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you, Joe. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. And those of you who may step in and listen to this after the live broadcast, I hope you find what you need. And Joe, let me know of any future books you've got going on. It seems to me like this is a niche that I'm supposed to be a part of here. Matter of fact, the last show you were with me on was Bridge Between Two Worlds, which as I changed, I needed to change the format, the title of the show. That was kind of me now. But I'll be here doing Love Never Dies, and I will send you a link of the recording. And I want to thank everybody. And remember, this is holiday time, everyone. It is normal. It's often meant to be a happy time. Yet, unfortunately, our loved ones who were missing do come up. And we need to remember that a lot of other people are having difficulty right now. Send them some love, send them some light, send them some healing. And if you're feeling you need to share about some of your losses, do that. That may help somebody. Just like here us discussing suicide tonight.
Pamela, in the last 4 weeks alone, the two signs groups have added 3,500 new members.
Wow.
It shows you how many people, as the holidays approach, really search and reach out to find some kind of comfort.
Right. And we got the pandemic going on.
Yeah, that just exacerbates everything.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So anyway, send love to everyone. And okay. Larissa has something she wants to say quick.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yay!
That's why I just went to settings and I didn't know how to do that, but I just want to thank you so much for this. I type it and I just want everybody to know I was asking my daughter nonstop that I wanted to know how she was doing. And it's been going on for the past 2 weeks. And I said, I don't know why, but I want to know how you're doing. And I have amazing dreams with her. I'm a licensed mental health therapist. And right now I'm working with 2 children. And I work in the school settings, and they lost their dad over the summertime. And they didn't tell me anything until maybe a week ago. And this meeting is helping me a lot, because I am just been trying, not knowing what to do, because these children, they come and they play. I do play therapy, but I can feel their pain, and the pain is really great, very great. I can sense the sadness in their hearts. And this is a moment, this meeting has given me more tools
Awesome.
to sit with them. So I appreciate it so much, because now I have a little bit more of guidance, and I'm gonna buy this book as soon as I hang up the phone.
And
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and Larissa, I've got something going on weekly, and would love to have you join us whenever you can, or for anybody who's listening here too, to go to my YouTube channel, where I've already got quite a few recordings from. I'm going to say there's a recording on there of Claire Ann talking about her experience with Graham, Guy and Graham, the G's there, Graham, and her poetry. But there's also Guy Dussault, who I mentioned, in regards to signs from our loved ones, and a number of other wonderful experiences. June Elaine Evans, who receives communication regularly from her husband Jerry on the other side, and helps her with her readings. I mean, there's so many different types of ways that spirit is coming forward to show us they still love us. Love never dies.
Nope, it doesn't.
God bless
Right.
everyone. I'll be here next week with messages of love from heaven. Thank you again, Joe. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
And
you.
God bless. Be safe.
Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you, everyone.
Yep. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye.